Hello, everyone. We're in the midst of a very long week indeed. Polls have been closed for 36 hours, although it feels like much longer. And the situation as it stands is that Nevada, Arizona, North Carolina, Georgia, and Pennsylvania are all still in play. Most of these states have over 90% of their votes in, and the margins of victory are incredibly slim. This has been a historic election, let's make no doubt. An election where Biden was predicted to win in a landslide, with big tech on his side, utilizing voter suppression, violence, and intimidation. Trump has taken the fight to the left and absolutely smashed that woke narrative. But the race still isn't over. It really isn't. We still have 5 states in play. The Trump campaign is adamant that they're still going to win states. And in this video, we're going to be analyzing the situation on the ground and just how he can still do that. You're watching Political, and a big thank you to everyone who joined us for our election live stream. About 200 people over the course of the night, which is amazing. We didn't expect it at all. Let us know if it's something you'd like to see more of. And as well, please do subscribe, leave a comment, tell us your opinion, and share the video if you so wish. Ryan, tell us what you've got.
Well, I just want to say it's taken me like a day to recover after the live stream as well. Like we were going to be like 6 hours late into the night. I woke up the next day just feeling incredibly rough and incredibly grim. But that's possibly why we didn't do anything yesterday in terms of videos. But nothing really changed anyway over the course of the day. Still just waiting on Nevada now for the remaining vote, which still hasn't come in. So. But yeah, so as the situation stands, as he said, there's 5 states left, and it looks, certainly Biden thinks that he's going to win. I mean, that's basically what the consensus is, that Biden's going to win. On the initial vote count, I don't want to get too much into the legal aspects of it right now. There's going to be court cases and all of this, and Trump is going to attempt to, ask for recounts, and I don't know, all things could change from that. But just in terms of the initial count, the Trump campaign seems to think that they can still win Arizona and Pennsylvania. They said that the president is in very, very good shape. This was yesterday morning, but he says if all legally cast ballots are counted, the president will win. He says that Trump is likely to overperform among minority groups in Pennsylvania and have a strong enough showing in certain GOP-leaning counties that he will retain a lead even after Democratic strongholds around Philadelphia and Pittsburgh report a flood of uncounted votes. And that's in, obviously, Pennsylvania. And in Arizona, they've dismissed projections that Biden will win the state, arguing that Election Day votes will break heavily enough for Trump that he will erase the former vice president's roughly 100,000 vote lead. So they're saying no. They're saying that they have a chance in Nevada as well, where Biden's only ahead by 8,000. But they keep apparently repeatedly referring to legally cast ballots. So when they say they think he's going to win, I don't know if they think they mean they think he's going to win off from the initial vote count here, or after they've kind of done a case and ruled out certain ballots or whatever. I don't know. So, but the case then in Arizona. So, as things stand, I think it is predominantly there's 600,000 ballots left to count. 248,000 early ballots that arrived on Monday and Tuesday, 160 to 180 early ballots that were dropped off on Election Day, and 18 are provisional ballots, about 10,000 of which are from Election Day. So it's impossible to say whether they're going to be like Biden leaning, Trump leaning. Obviously, Trump supporters turned up on Election Day, but even if we have a look at the early voting in Arizona, it was still more Republican lean. And we did see this kind of situation where Democrats were voting really early, but then the Republicans that were doing early votes were coming in and voting early, but a bit less early. So it could well be that if these are kind of later votes, which they are, one's dropped off on Election Day, that these are heavily Republican. We don't know until they're all counted, but it could be that they're heavily Republican, which means Fox News are going to have a bit of egg on their face. That's why we're using the CNN projection here, because Fox News have already called Arizona for Biden, Can
you imagine if Fox News called a presidency based on their premature declaration of Arizona, but they have to go back on both things? It would be pretty incredible, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would also dismiss this idea that Fox News is a right-wing propaganda station as well. If they literally call the election for Biden and then go, "Oh no, actually we were wrong, Trump's won." But yeah, and then the situation in Pennsylvania, that they're saying obviously that they think they're going to end up with a bit more of the vote in the from minority voters, which obviously predominantly going to be places like Philadelphia, where there's obviously a lot of African Americans there. What's interesting again, it's these are all mail-in ballots basically that have got to come in, 10% left. Trump is currently ahead by like 150,000, but that's gone down from sort of a 700,000 vote lead that he had. So they're mail-in ballots that come in, 10% left. Again, it's an interesting thing. If these are if these are the early mail-in ballots, then they should significantly favour Biden, because if you remember on the early vote, I was paying attention to this like loads. In Pennsylvania, the Democrats had something like a 75% amount of the early votes were with registered Democrats, but then it's gone down to 65% as the later early votes came in. So I think, depending on if these are early votes in Pennsylvania or just later early votes, then they will show whether they're more Republican or more Democrat, because the later early votes may actually sway more to Republicans. So again, we won't know until they come in. But what's interesting, he did say like they think they've got the good support in somewhere like Pittsburgh. I'm looking at the wrong state. Sorry, not in Pittsburgh, in Philadelphia. So Hillary Clinton won that 82 to 15% in 2016, and then right now it's 79 to 19%. So that, I think, listen, there's still early votes to come there in Philadelphia, so it might now swing towards Biden, but it does seem to be the case that perhaps Trump is overperforming there than he did last time. So I don't know. Just one final bit then is that looking at the odds on Predict It, they seem to think that Biden is going to win those two states, although probably less so in Arizona. Maybe he's got the better chance in Arizona. And then Georgia is favoured for Biden as well. I have no idea what's going on in Georgia, because it just... it seems to say, it keeps going up. I thought all the votes were in. It said like 98%, now it's gone down to like 96%. And so apparently there's just going to be more votes just coming in. It's got really, really, really tight there. I don't think anyone really has any idea, to be honest with you. It's impossible to say. I don't know how many more mail-in votes they're going to find.
They just keep coming in. There's going to be... The vote's going to keep on counting until they have exactly what's necessary for them. And this was the kind of things we were so scared of before the election. It's all coming true, isn't it? Just this endless, okay, it gets to election day and Trump looks like he's ahead. So, 2 weeks later, and they're still finding these mail-in ballots from somewhere, who knows where. The votes going up and up for Biden, and then he gets to one vote more, and boom, And I think, in terms of the left's kind of dirty tactics in this election, well, if we look at Pennsylvania, and you were just saying this to me just before the stream, Trump's declared victory in Pennsylvania. But this is a strategic move, isn't it? Because the left they always bang on about Al Gore. They're still hunkering for revenge for Al Gore, aren't they? And if they can do to Trump what George Bush did to Al Gore, as in kind of declaring the victory before all the votes are counted, and it turns out that the state is actually won and it decides the presidency. That's what they're trying to do. And it seems very clear to me that's what's going to happen in Pennsylvania, because they'll get to like 95% or something. They'll show a slight Biden lead, they'll call it. And suddenly, 1 month later, it turns out Trump's won the state. Then, oops, whoops, too late now.
So I think it's entirely an optics thing. They've called Pennsylvania, said that they've won it, which obviously no one knows right now if that is the case. Because I'm not saying that he hasn't won it. I'm just saying that it could be, like you say, that Biden is declared the victor there, but actually they go in and they do a recount. Oh, when it turns out a lot of these ballots were legitimate, whatever. I don't know. No idea what's going to happen over the next few weeks or months even. But
It's interesting.
it's about optics, yeah. Like they want to go in and be like, yeah, we've won Pennsylvania. They don't want to be coming into the situation on kind of like a back foot where they say, no, Biden hasn't won. They want to be saying that they've won, and then they want to be saying, here's why we've won, not why Biden hasn't won, because it is all about the optics. If people think Trump's won, then it's more likely that in that scenario they're going to back him, basically, when it comes to the court cases and legislation and whatnot.
They just need the time to do that, the kind of patience from the voters to do it. Isn't it interesting that Trafalgar Group, who were certainly a lot more accurate than the kind of fake polls that we've been looking at, and Nate Silver, he's done. Like you're going to find him working at McDonald's tomorrow. But didn't he say, in Pennsylvania we need to win above the margin of fraud, don't we?
Yeah.
And do you think it's the case? Do you think there is a huge fraud going on in Pennsylvania? Because it's possible, isn't it?
Well, it's weird because all the things that we talked about for the election, like you say, they seem to be kind of coming true. And for all this talk of like the Biden landslide and all of this, even up to the build of it, you had the governor of Pennsylvania saying the week before the election, if all the ballots are counted in Pennsylvania, then we think Biden will win. Or not even we think Biden will win. They were saying Biden will win, and which is incredible for a governor to say that one candidate's going to win before any votes have been counted, never mind all of them. So it seems that they knew that this was going to happen. They knew that the polls were a load of rubbish, and they knew that it was going to come down to these really, really close states, and that it was going to come down to like the last vote. So, I don't know. I think the 3 states where there is kind of concern, I don't know. I guess it's more like 4: Georgia, Arizona, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. That's what they're saying. But I honestly don't know. I want to kind of like withhold a judgment or just like make up my mind on what I think until more has happened. I think regardless, like let's say in a few months' time, Biden is the president. I think regardless, I'm always going to have that feeling in the back of my mind that, there might have been some dodgy stuff going on and we never knew. And that is probably going to be the same with a lot of people, a lot of Trump supporters. And we could have avoided this scenario if there wasn't all this ridiculousness going on before the election with the mail-in ballots. It never needed to be like this. It could have been a more simple election, but they wanted it. It seems they wanted this to happen, and I don't know. Now we've got this scenario, and it's not going to be over anytime soon.
Yeah, and I mean, this is half the country, more or less, disillusioned with the political system. They're looking at a political system which hasn't. It's produced an outcome, but who the hell knows if it's the correct outcome? And I think 99.99% of conservatives, we're not the left. Okay, we're not the left. I think most conservatives will kind of take the stiff upper lip, take it on the chin with this one. How can you ever trust that system again? How can you ever trust the media again, or the polls, or the election counting apparatus? Can you? And I guess the only thing we can do, we believe in the system, is to make sure the system adapts and changes and overcomes in the future. But one thing I want to ask you, Ian, what do you think? Who do you think is going to win?
Oh, I can't. I don't want to give a response. I'm sorry.
Don't want to respond.
I can't give a response. I really don't. I think all the indicators show Biden will win once these votes are counted. I'm doing quotation marks so you can't see, but once these votes are counted, I think Biden will win. What happens after that, I have absolutely no idea. But like I said, I don't know. I think even if Trump's team is able to prove that there was some nefarious activity going on, I don't really think it would change much anyway. But I don't know. I think what I just don't want to see is a scenario where there's huge amounts of civil unrest, because it looks like the Republicans will still have the Senate anyway. So all of Biden's dangerous domestic policy isn't going to happen. We only have to worry about what he does in terms of his foreign policy, how far ahead China are able to get. we were saying this before, but all of these the enemies of the West, you know, in China and Russia and Iran, they're going to look at Biden and prey upon that weak leadership now. And that's what concerns me more than anything. If he does become president, that's what concerns me more than anything. They're not going to be able to do the dangerous domestic policy that they wanted to do because they don't have the Senate. But the foreign policy, I mean, it puts more onus on European leaders, and hopefully they step up to the plate. But we'll see.
Well, I agree. The enemies of America are probably rubbing their hands together. I would say it's the left wing as well. Okay, you know, you make the case. You know, the Senate's become the rock upon which their hopes are dashed. But with Biden in the presidency, you know, what if he starts talking about reparations? What if he starts talking about this? He keeps facilitating this dangerous, divisive left wing rhetoric. That's what I'm scared of. But that is a video for another day, I believe. So unless you have anything to add.
No, not at this moment in time. I think we'll do our next video when the Nevada votes come in. So I guess 2-week holiday for us. And then
we'll see you in 2021, guys.
Yeah.
No, that's a joke. We're still committed to putting out a video every day, aren't we? We're still... for the foreseeable future, lots of incredible things. Again, let us know about the live stream if that's something you'd be interested in seeing more of. And we do have many more great things planned that will be announcing soon, hopefully. So until next time, guys, thank you very much. Take care.